I'm a director competition at the COMESA Competition Commission. Just to clarify that we are here for both the forum, which is being held today, and the summit, which will be held. First of all, there's a Council of Ministers, then there will be the heads of state, which is coming in on 31st. And as the COMESA Competition Commission, we see ourselves as a very important cog in the realization of a free and liberalized market, the common market. You realize that is the objective of the common market. Ourselves, the way we see ourselves is that we are very important in ensuring that you have a free and liberalized market in COMESA, and that is achieved through our mandate. So our mandate essentially is different facets. The first aspect is that we investigate and sanction abuses of restricted business practices, where, for instance, you have entities that are coming together to either engage in cartel, to allocate markets, because that basically impedes the realization of free trade in the common market. So if that happens, we investigate you and then we'll sanction you. Our sanctions allow up to 10% of your turnover, so that is quite deterrent from the perspective of any business. The other aspect is we are also charged with looking at the market structures in the common market. So basically to ensure that the market structures are competitive. How you do that is you ensure that you don't have a scenario where one entity is monopolizing, so to speak, sectors in the common market, because you realize that when you have a monopoly or high levels of concentration, that enables a few firms to set abnormally high prices, which are detrimental to the consumer, because the consumer is supposed to have products that are competitively priced, so that whatever level you exist as a consumer in the common market, you're able to get products that you can afford. You're able to get products that are innovative, so there's innovation, because people have to innovate to remain in the market, and that the consumer choice is, you can exercise choice. So to ensure that that happens is we ensure that whenever there is any merger that involves, that has a cross-border perspective, you have to seek our approval. And essentially when we are looking at your merger, then we have to determine that there's no competition concerns that the merger is going to raise before we approve it. The other aspect to our mandate is consumer protection. So essentially the product, this one now focuses on the products that are actually sold to consumers in the market. So for instance, if you're purchasing a product, say an electronic product, we want to ensure that you're not being deceived, that you're buying a Samsung phone, yet it turns out that that is not a Samsung phone, that is a counterfeit. We want to ensure that you're also not being there's nobody who is taking advantage of your bargaining position. So we look at what we call in terms of consumer protection, to ensure that there's no entity that is imposing conditions on you. For instance, requiring you to opt for, assuming you took a loan, for instance, in Burundi, and you want to acquire a cheaper insurance product, or you are purchasing a vehicle and you want to acquire a cheaper insurance product. You are not compelled, to opt for a product that is more expensive than the one you can actually acquire as a consumer. So that is, we're looking at unconscionable conduct in the marketplace. We also look at things like defective products, and also where there is, for instance, recalls in developed countries. We also ensure that if that product has been sold in COMESA, that also the entity that is selling it is compelled to also recall the product. So those are some, basically in a nutshell. Those are some of the aspects of our mandate that we look at. So once we have investigated you, and I need to emphasize that, aspects of our mandate are about investigation. So for instance, if we are investigating you for abuse of a dominant position, or any contravention to do with a restrictive business practice or a consumer complaint, the processes, we take you through an investigation process. We ensure that you have an opportunity to respond, to defend yourself. Then we make a decision, and that will be made by our board, essentially imposing a sanction, whatever sanction it is, depending on the case. Then you're allowed to appeal. So currently you can appeal to an appeals board that is established as part of our regulations. But now we are looking at how to improve our law to make it quicker, to make it more expedient for businesses. So we are now going to allow you to appeal directly to the COMESA Court of Justice. So in a nutshell, basically that's what we do. I need to clarify that typically we look at cases which have a cross-border effect. Burundi is in the process of coming up with a competition agency. So you have not established a competition agency. So cases that are unique, the ones which only relate to Burundi alone, will be handled by the competition agency of Burundi. But those ones which have an impact in the common market. So for instance, there is Burundi and Rwanda, Burundi and DRC. Tanzania is not a member of COMESA, Burundi and Kenya. Those ones which have a cross-border effect, those are the ones that we look at. Now coming to monopolies, our role is to ensure that nobody is attaining a monopolistic position. So that if, for instance, you have a company that has a given market share in Burundi, say 30% or 40%, and the same firm wants to acquire somebody else in Rwanda or another place in the common market. When you come to us as part of our merger regime, we look at those transactions. So what we'll ensure is to make sure that, for instance, if the effect of that merger on the common market is to increase your market share in a manner that you're increasing concentration, we will ask you, for instance, to sell off aspects of that business so that you don't attain a monopolistic position and not able to charge monopolistic prices. Yes, that's how we handle it. So that when you come to us, when you want to acquire another farm, and you can look at it and say, look, this farm, if this other farm is acquired, then the size in terms of market share of this farm is going to go up. So the impact there is going to be negative to the consumer. Then we can decide, no, we will not going to approve that transaction. In certain instances, like in the paint sector, we've had a transaction relating to AkzoNobel, who are acquiring paint. This transaction had an impact in Eswatini, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. We did not approve it because we realized that the impact of that transaction was to raise the concentration levels, in those markets, and basically deny consumers of an alternative. So that is an example of a merger that we did not approve. Yes. We work very closely with standards bodies, and we also work very closely with the competition agencies where they exist in the member states. And how we do it is, it's a normal investigation that I mentioned about. So we will hear a complaint that something is being sold that is defective. For instance, there's a defective product that is being sold in the common market. We will initiate an investigation. We will collect evidence. We will give you an opportunity to be heard. And if we establish that actually there's a contravention going on, we will impose a penalty on you. Burundians, for now, I think there are many ways you can take advantage of the commission. The most important for now is to, once the agency is in place, once the Burundi has a competition authority in place, I'm told you're in the process, very advanced stages of having one in place. Once you have that in place, then it is our duty as the COMESA Competition Commission to work very closely with that agency in establishing guidelines, in advocacy, informing consumers that this agency exists, in setting thresholds for the various things, including mergers that you'll be handling, and many other aspects, including capacity building of staff. You know, we normally aid with capacity building of authorities in the common market, of staff, to ensure that, you know, you are capacitated, because, you know, as staff members, you need to have capacity to carry out investigations and, you know, and ensure implementation of the law that will have been established.